Hey there, dog lovers. It's Zach from the Pampered Pup, and today I'm going to do a comparison of Spot and Tango versus the Farmer's Dog. These are two of the best tasting fresh dog foods that I've tried so far. And today I'm going to talk about how they stack up in terms of quality. That is, how they look, how they smell, how they taste. I'm going to talk about how they stack up in terms of convenience to the pet owner. And that includes managing your subscription, how shipping works, packaging, all that. And finally, I'll compare these fresh dog foods on cost. But just to give you that real quick answer, honestly, I don't think either one of these brands is the standout winner in this case. And that's really sad for me to say because I love to pick a winner. Recipes from both these companies are absolutely great, and we'll see which ones are best when I actually taste them. And while there is a bit of a difference in price, it's not so drastic that I think it's a huge deciding factor. So my advice is to go with your gut on this one, and hopefully I'll have answered any question you might have about these companies by the end of this video. And if you do decide to choose Spot and Tango or the Farmer's Dog for your pup, make sure to use my links in the description of this video to get access to the best deal that I'm currently aware of. So now I'll evaluate how Spot and Tango and the Farmer's Dog compare on quality. So I'll start with the beef recipes from each of these companies. And on your right, I have Spot and Tango's beef and millet recipe, and on your left, I have the Farmer's Dog beef recipe. Just taking a close look at these two, they're really quite similar in appearance from a quality standpoint, although they do look different. Notably, Spot and Tango's recipe is using green peas and carrots, whereas in the case of the Farmer's Dog's recipe, you see what looks like sweet potatoes and lentils here, and generally a more bright color from Spot and Tango's recipe and more sort of a darker color from the Farmer's Dog's beef recipe. Just looking at the beef recipes here, while both look appealing, I would say that Spot and Tango is the clear winner. It just looks a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more fresh than the beef recipe here from the Farmer's Dog. Now let's compare the turkey recipes from each brand. And on your right, I have the turkey and red quinoa from Spot and Tango, and on your left, I have the turkey recipe from the Farmer's Dog here. So once again, just taking a look at these with Spot and Tango, they're using green peas and carrots, I believe. Could be sweet potatoes in this case. It's a little hard to distinguish those components. The red quinoa definitely adds to the appearance of the food. There's no question there. The meat itself does look, it's not like ground to a paste like you see in a lot of fresh dog food. It's there. As with the previous recipe, the food generally looks, relatively firm, not like overly moist or sloppy, anything like that. On the other hand, the Farmer's Dog also has really nice chunks of ingredients. I've always been impressed with the chunks of the broccoli in the Farmer's Dog. They really do a great job of maintaining its fresh, natural color on such a delicate ingredient. There are nice, large chunks of turkey in here as well, which I love to see. Just to pick a winner of the turkey recipes here, I would say that the Farmer's Dog looks a little bit more appetizing. It's brighter, it looks fresher. Both look great, absolutely, but the Farmer's Dog probably takes the lead with the turkey here. So we're 1 for 1 here. Kind of a tie in terms of appearance between Spot and Tango and the Farmer's Dog. Next, I'll evaluate how these recipes compare in terms of smell. Does it smell delicious? Does it smell like something I'd want to eat? I'll start with the turkey recipes here, leave the stronger beef for the second round. Let's just see. I'm gonna first smell Spot and Tango, and then I'll smell the Farmer's Dog. So from an aromatic standpoint, I'd say that the Spot and Tango recipe is a little bit stronger, and the Farmer's Dog recipe is definitely quite neutral, and I would say a little bit more clean smelling, a little bit more pure smelling. You're smelling a little bit more strength of sort of the turkey components in the Spot and Tango recipe, and I think it just kind of smells a little bit more heavy at the end of the day. Both very similar, both smell good, but to me, without a doubt, the turkey recipe from the Farmer's Dog has a more appealing aroma than the turkey and red quinoa recipe from Spot and Tango. Now let's compare the beef recipes from each company, and I'll start with Spot and Tango here. That's definitely a toss-up. The Spot and Tango's beef and millet recipe smells really clean, really pure, very much along the lines of sort of my opinion of the Farmer's Dog turkey recipe. The Farmer's Dog beef recipe smells, I would say, definitely appetizing. It has a little bit more of a strong smell than the beef and millet recipe from Spot and Tango. So if I had to pick, I'd say that Spot and Tango's beef recipe smells a little bit better. So that means after the smell test, we're at 2 and 2 here. So now let's compare them where it really matters and see how these dog foods taste. I'm gonna start with the turkey recipes from each brand, and I'll try Spot and Tango's turkey and red quinoa first here. So that's really nice. It tastes really quite pure. It has nice texture from the whole ingredients and the grains. You can taste, actually the grains themselves taste really good, which is something I'm not necessarily used to experiencing in human food even. Overall, very fresh, tastes like human food, I would say. Not an inkling of dog food there. So now let's see how it compares to the Farmer's Dog's turkey recipe. Once again, that tastes quite clean and quite pure. The textures are really nice, and it absolutely tastes like human food. There's no sort of indication that I'm eating dog food here whatsoever. If I had to pick, I'd say that the Farmer's Dog turkey recipe slightly has an edge. Just barely, and I think that the reason for that is that it's a little bit more on the delicious side than the Spot and Tango recipe. Spot and Tango's recipe tastes clean and pure and absolutely very nice, but Farmer's Dog tastes all of those things, but even a little bit delicious. So as with their appearance and their smell, I'd say that the Farmer's Dog's turkey recipe has the upper hand in the taste department as well. Let's move on to try the beef now, and I'll start with Spot and Tango's beef and millet here. And that tastes really nice. Once again, it's nice and clean. The textures are great. There's no off-putting flavors or anything like that there. No sort of suggestion that this is dog food that I'm eating here. And one thing that really sticks out in my mind is the flavor from the cranberry in this recipe. There's not a ton of them in there, but when you hit one, it adds a nice sort of sweet component to it. Let's see how the beef recipe from the Farmer's Dog compares. Well, there's actually quite a stark contrast in flavors here between Spot and Tango's beef and millet and the Farmer's Dog's beef recipe. And I would say on the first hit of my palate, the Farmer's Dog comes off a little bit more delicious without a doubt. It just has more of like sort of a savory component going to it that really kind of excites your taste buds. The problem is that sort of on the lingering aftertaste, there's a bit of a heavy flavor with the Farmer's Dog beef recipe when compared to Spot and Tango's. And I would say that the textures and the flavors in Spot and Tango's recipe taste a little bit more pure, a little bit more fresh, has a nice tenderness to it. And while both of these beef recipes are pleasant to eat, I'd say that that heavy flavor in the beef recipe from the Farmer's Dog does kind of push it a little bit more towards tasting like dog food than it does like human food. Not so much that it's off-putting, but it catches your attention, whereas there's none of that present whatsoever in the Spot and Tango recipe. So in terms of quality, I guess the stars have aligned. Spot and Tango's beef and millet recipe takes the upper hand, whereas the Farmer's Dog's turkey recipe takes the upper hand. But all in all, recipes from both brands are absolutely delicious tasting fresh dog foods, and they're definitely contenders for the best ones out there. So just a bit more about these companies' recipes and what they have to offer. One difference between the two is that Spot and Tango offers 3 recipes. That is beef and millet, turkey and red quinoa, and there's a lamb and brown rice, I believe. Whereas the Farmer's Dog offers 4 recipes. Those are the beef recipe, the turkey recipe, the pork recipe, and I think there's a chicken recipe as well. Recipes from both of these companies are nutritionally complete and balanced to comply with the standards set by the AAFCO. Spot and Tango's recipes are formulated by a PhD in veterinary nutrition, and the Farmer's Dog's recipes are formulated by a board-certified veterinary nutritionist. So similar in that regard as well. Recipes from both of these companies are cooked to USDA kitchens, so they're subjected to the same safety standards as used with human food. And Spot and Tango does point out that their food is GMO and hormone-free. In terms of nutrition, the main thing that I look at is their protein content as fed. Spot and Tango takes the upper hand here for sure. Their recipes range from 12 to 14% protein content as fed, which is on the high end from what you see in terms of fresh dog food. The Farmer's Dog's recipes come in at about 8 to 11% protein as fed, which is pretty standard, but not as high as you're getting with Spot and Tango. Now let's talk about convenience to the pet owner. With both Spot and Tango and the Farmer's Dog, you do need a subscription to purchase their fresh dog food for your pup. And like most of the fresh dog food companies out there, it's really easy to cancel your subscription with either Spot and Tango or the Farmer's Dog. You can do it all from within your account dashboard on their website. No need to pick up the phone or anything like that. With a few clicks, you're on your way. No more shipments coming your way, no more bills. In terms of shipping speed, both of these companies were really fast. With Spot and Tango, I placed my order on a Sunday and I received it on the following Thursday, so that's 3 full business days between when I placed my order and when it showed up on my porch. With the Farmer's Dog, I placed my order on a Sunday and I received it on the following Wednesday. That's the fastest I've ever seen from a fresh dog food company. Spot and Tango's shipping materials and insulation are completely recyclable, which is definitely a nice touch. When you're done unpacking it, you can just put it all in your recycling bin and you're good to go. The Farmer's Dog does use cellulose insulation, and to get rid of those, the best way to do it is to dissolve them in water and run them down your sink, which is a little bit more work, a little bit more mess. Not the end of the world, but I definitely prefer to just recycle the components if I can. In terms of packaging the food itself, Spot and Tango is one of my favorite companies to work with. They package my meals as half-pound patties, vacuum sealed with an easy peel tab. It's not too much to defrost at one time. It's really easy to open the package, and it thaws very quickly, so no complaints there whatsoever. And the Farmer's Dog's packaging doesn't have that easy peel tab on it. You do have to get some scissors dirty in order to open it up. Not the end of the world, but that easy peel tab is definitely a nice convenience to have. And in terms of serving the food to your dog, both companies suggest that the food's consumed within 4 days of defrosting it. So you don't have a huge window there, but as long as they're not giving you too much food to defrost at one time, it's not that big of an issue. They both tell you that the best way to defrost it is just to take it out the night before and put it in your fridge and let it defrost in the fridge. Last but not least, let's talk about how these companies compare in terms of cost. I always evaluate the cost of fresh dog food on a dollars per pound basis. This helps keep things a little bit more fair across the brands because they each calculate your dog's nutritional needs a little bit differently. So that dollars per week figure that they give you isn't always the same from brand to brand. According to my calculations, Spot and Tango comes in at about $9 per pound, whereas the Farmer's Dog comes in at $7 per pound. Both of these prices are a bit above average, with Spot and Tango obviously being a little bit more so. But I think if you're already in this price range for fresh dog food, it's not that huge of a difference. Obviously, the Farmer's Dog is a little bit cheaper for sure, but I don't think the difference is so drastic that it's the main deciding factor. So at the end of the day, if you do choose Spot and Tango or the Farmer's Dog for your pup, remember to use my links in the description of this video to get access to the best deal that I currently am aware of. For more information, make sure to check out my The Farmer's Dog review, and I've published a Spot and Tango review on this channel as well, so feel free to check that out. Thanks for watching, and I hope you find a delicious tasting fresh dog food for your pup.